Hello. Hello everyone. Good morning and welcome to Exampur. Please confirm me, am I audible or not now? Amit. Now am I audible or not? I hope now my voice is reaching to you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Uh, in today's session, we should discuss the plate tectonic theory. We are going to discuss the plate tectonic theory. Okay, because in the last session, we told you about the what is the plate, on which basis we can categorize the plate, and what is the composition of the plate, which type of the matter is found, if which type of the matter decide the density of the plate. In the last session or the previous session we have discussed these things. Today, in today's section, we will discuss the plate tectonic theory. Plate tectonic theory is completely related to the movement of the plate, which type of the movement is taking place in the plate, and the entire landmass, almost you can say the entire landmass which is found on the Earth's surface, most of that particular landmass are being created by the movement of the plates. So plate movement is this theory, this particular theory, that is the plate tectonic theory, is scientifically provide the base of the formation of the landforms. We can understand why this particular landform is developed in this region or any particular region, why this type of the landform is developed in this region. So in the you can say that the puzzle of the landform formation is completely, or you can say the almost completely resolved by this theory. So this theory is very important for geographer, or this theory is very important for a geography student. So we should understand this theory in the easy way. And firstly, this theory is completely related to the, we should know this theory is completely related to the movement of the plate. So here is a question, why this plate movement is taking place? What is the reason behind this? Why this type of the movement is taking place? So when we understand, or when we study about the interior part of the earth, then we look at the upper portion of the earth is in the solid form, that is called the crust. But when we move from the upper part to lower part, the stage of the earth's interior is changing condition. When we move into the mantle, this part of the earth interior is not completely, and we can say it the semi-solid. And when we move from the beneath the mantle, then we found the core part, and that is termed as the outer core. That outer core is basically in the liquid form. There is a magma which is in the liquid form, and the upper part in the mental form, in the mental part of the earth's interior, there is also some magma chambers are found, that is also called the magma plumes. The magma plumes has been asked by the UPSC in your mains examination. So this part is very important for us for prelims perspective as well as for the mains perspective. So magma is found here, and the magma chamber is found in the mantle region, and beneath the mantle there is a outer core, and that outer core is completely liquid form. When any liquid which has the high temperature, then there is a condition for the development of the convectional waves. So due to the outer core, or due to the magma chamber in the mental condition, there is a convectional waves generation is taking place. Okay, so here from this region there is a convectional waves generated, and this convectional waves is generally the form of energy, and we know that the energy move from the higher level to lower level from everywhere. The nature or the tendency of the energy is always moving from the higher level to lower level. So this region, or this region of the, or this part of the earth is the consists the high temperature, and when we move from this part to upper section, there is a temperature is decreasing. In the interior structure of the earth, when you move when you study that, when we move from the upper surface to the from upper surface toward the core of the earth, the temperature of the this region increases. So when we move from this area to this area, temperature decreases, and this form of the energy is always moving from this area to this area, or this region to this part to this part. So these convectional waves always move from interior part to outer part, and that is why this move from this region to this region. And when it reaches to the solid portion, this convectional wave hit this part, and this due to the heating and due to the force generation by the heating, this portion is started to move, or this portion has the suitable condition for the movement, and that is why the plate movement is taking place on the earth's surface, and that is why the plate movement is taking place on the earth. So what is the region of the movement of the plate? You can say movement of the convectional wave. So due to the movement of the convectional wave, there is a plate movement is taking place. And this plate movement, in this theory, we understand, or we will learn the entire movement. So this theory is related to the movement of the plate, and firstly we understand why this plate movement is taking place. I hope this is clear. Okay. In the last session, we have discussed that how many types of the movement is found in the plate tectonic. So in the classical plate tectonic theory, through the classical plate tectonic theory, there are only 3 types of the plate movement. So plate tectonic theory, according to the plate tectonic theory, there is a 3 types of the plate movement has been discussed or has been elaborated. The first one is the convergence plate movement. So convergence plate movement is the first plate movement type which has been propounded or which has been discussed in the plate tectonic theory. So convergence plate movement or the convergence plate margin, you can say here the margin. Margin means if the 2 plates are converging toward each other, that means these 2 plates are moving toward each other. So this margin is called the convergence plate margin. Okay, so this margin is called the convergence plate margin, and almost all the landform structure is seen at the margin of plates. Okay, so margins of the plate is very important for the geomorphological purpose, because almost different structure or almost the diversity of the landscape is found at these margins. So we will understand the margins. So you can say the movement of this plate is the plate convergence plate movement, and the margins of these type of the plate is called the convergence plate margin. This is the first type. We will study about this. And the second type, when the 2 plates move away from each other, that means its direction is different, or the plates are moving, or the distance of the plate is increasing. Divergence of the plate, you can say the divergence plate movement or divergence plate margin. So movement is taking place in this manner. If the movement is taking place in this manner, that means the plate are moving away from each other. So this margin is called the divergence plate margin, and the landscape or the land structure or the different type of the geomorphological structure has been seen in this region, and that is why this margin is important for us, and we will study about this margin. So second type of the movement is the divergence of divergence plate movement, and the margin of such type plate is called the divergence plate margin. And the third type of the movement, when the two plates moving or the two plates move parallel to each other, and whether these plate moving into the same direction or the opposite direction. So this type of the plate is called the parallel plate movement, and the margin of that plate is called the parallel plate margin. So here you should understand that the movement of the plate is parallel, whether this movement is in the same direction or this plate is in the opposite direction. So if two plates are moving and there is a one plate, there is a one plate, if these plates are moving into opposite direction, so this is also the parallel movement and this is also the parallel movement. So according to the classical plate tectonic theory, there is a three type of the plate movement. That first one is the convergence, second one is the divergence, and third one is the parallel plate movement. So on this movement or on this margin, you will look the different structure or the different landscape or the landforms. On this margin, we will study about the different landmass, because this type of the movement, this type of the movement is responsible for the formation of the different type of the margin. So the differences, the landscape differences will be seen, and in this type of the movement we will look about the different things. Okay, so all the three movement almost clears the different structure or the different landscapes which is found on our earth surface. So that is why this is very scientific theory. So first we will take the first one, that is the convergence plate margin. This is the first convergence plate margin or the convergence plate movement. Convergence plate movement what is the condition of the convergence plate movement? So look here, if any crustal portion is located here, okay, and one magma plume, suppose one magma plume or the one convectional current is moving in this direction, and from here, because we know that the second convectional current started to move from this direction. Okay, now when this condition will happen, on this in this condition, the force is generating to divert this plate, or firstly it start to break, and then this convectional current is responsible to make away this plate. And in this condition, when this convectional current is moving in this region, then this situation or this condition of the convectional current is responsible to take closer these plates, and this is condition for the convergence. So in this situation there is a convergence is taking place, and in this situation there is a divergence is taking place. So divergence, for the divergence, when the convectional current hits the crustal part and disperse here, and this region where the convectional currents is started to converge, and when it converges, then this type of the plate movement is taking place, that is the convergence. So for the convergence, this situation is responsible, and for the divergence, this condition is responsible. So why the convergence and the divergence is taking place, I hope you understand here from this example or from this picture. So convergence plate movement, the meaning of this convergence plate movement is the movement, closing or the movement of the plates close to each other or into the same direction. Okay, so there is a two types of the plate we have discussed about the plates in the last session. On the basis of the composition, we can categorize the plates into the oceanic plates and the continental plates. Oceanic plates and the continental plates. So firstly, you should understand what is the convergence plate movement. So convergence plate movement is the plate movement where the two plates converging toward each other, and after the convergence they collide, and after the collision, one plate, that is the heavier plate, which plate, that is the heavier plate, that plate started to move beneath the lighter plate. Why this is taking place, we will clear it. Okay, so convergence means, the literally meaning of the convergence is the to close toward each other or started to close toward each other. Suppose this one is the plate and the second plate is this. If this is the second plate, these two plates started to move toward each other, and the pace of the movement of the plate is very, very low. That means few centimeter in 100 years or the few centimeter in the 50 years. So movement of the plate is very slow, and that is why any landform structure, the formation of any landform structure is take the millions of the year. If the Himalaya is formed, that means Himalaya was started to form about the 65 million year ago, and Himalaya is still in their formation process. So that means it is taking more than the 65 million year. Okay, so Himalaya is, if the Himalaya formation is taking the 65 million year, or Himalaya is still continuation formation is taking place. So that is why, because the plate movement or the speed or the pace of the plate movement is very slow. Okay, so here if we look there, here there are two plates, and these plates are moving toward each other. If they are moving toward each other, that means here is some gap. If here is some gap, so mostly this gap is filled by the water. This gap is filled by the water. So if there is a margin, if there is a scope to converge, that means there is a gap. If there is a gap is found on the surface, that particular gap is filled with the water body. And if there is a water body, that means the nearest drainage is came into, and due to the nearest drainage there is a foundation or there is a presence of the debris or the presence of the sediment. If there is a water, that means definitely here is a sediment presence. If there is a sediments, okay, if there is a sediments is found here, that means when these two plates started to converge, this region or the area of this particular water body started to contract. Okay, basically you understand that if two parts or the two plates are moving closer to each other, the area of this water body started to compress. If this area of the water body started to compress, then the sediment started to collect, or the sediment started to gather, or sediment started to move together, or the move closer to each other. So after a certain time, when this plate collide to this plate, when this plate collide to this plate, that means now the area or the area for this sediment is very low. If the area for this sediment is very low, then where will be these sediments will go? So water body or the water body will connect water body. If you look on the or earth surface, then the entire water body is connected to each other. So if the water body is connected, then water will shift from one region to another region. But the sediments is relatively heavier, and if the sediment is relatively heavier, so sediment cannot move in the easy way like the water. Okay, so sediment is started when these type of the plates, when the plate movement is taking place, and the space between these plates started to compressed, then there is a compressional force will apply on these sediments, and this sediment will started to due to the compressional force, they started to in the folding condition. They started to convert itself into the folding condition. Take an example, simple example. When we press our copy from both sides, take your notebook and press this notebook from both sides. If both sides there is a pressure is working on the notebook, that means there is a compressional force is working on it, and if the compressional force will be working on it, then you look at the upper section or the middle section of that particular notebook is started to move uprise, or they started to move upward direction. So there is a folding condition will be formed. So same like that here, when these two plates converge toward each other, then the sediment that is found between these region is started to fold and move into the upward direction, and that will be convert into the mountain. And if you look this mountain, then you will see there is a appearance of the folds, and this mountain is formed in the folding condition, and that is why such type mountain is called the folded mountain. Such type mountain is called folded mountain. Okay, so the sediment of this water body is converted into the folded mountain due to the compressional force, due to the force which is acting on it. That force is called the compressional force. This force is the compressional force. Okay, the first thing is clear. Now, when the two plates collide to each other, when they move to closer toward each other, the area will decrease. If the area will decrease, then this debris or this sediment will started to fold in the folding condition. But when these two plates collide to each other, when the two plates collide to each other, after the collision, what will be happen? After the collision, the plate which have the greater density, is started to subduct beneath the plate which has the lower density. That means with the plate which has the higher density is started to subduct beneath the lower density plate. Higher density, and this plate if has the lower density, then the heavier plate, if the density is high, then this means this plate is the heavy plate, then this plate, and this plate is the light plate. So this plate started to subduct beneath this plate, and this subduction zone is called the Benioff zone. This subduction zone is called the Benioff zone. So what is the Benioff zone? Benioff zone is the zone of the subduction where the heavier plate is getting subducted beneath the lower plate. That means this plate is moving beneath this plate. So this is the subduction zone, and this zone is termed as the Benioff zone. So Benioff zone is the zone where the one plate, that is the heavier plate, is moving beneath the lighter plate, or is moving under the lighter plate. Okay, why this? So high density plate, higher density plate. If you compare the oceanic plate with the continental plate, then you will find that the oceanic plate has the higher density. Oceanic plate has higher density. Okay, if you found there is a oceanic plate has higher density. So if we consider this is a heavy plate and this is the lower plate. So first structure that is found here, this is the folded mountain. Okay. So this water body, after a certain time period, after a long time period, this water body will be erased from this region. So this water body will be erased, and this water body will be converted, or the area of this water body will be converted into the different geographical region. Okay, like the today where we are living, that is the northern plain of the where we are living. This is the northern plain region. This is the northern plain region. When the Indo-Australian plate was started to subduct, or the Indo-Australian plate started to collide with the Eurasian plate, this Tethys, the area of the Tethys Sea was sinking. If the after a certain time period, when this plate is when our Indo-Australian plate started to move beneath the Himalayan plate or Eurasian plate, then now greater plain, or the area of the greater plain, was the part of that particular Tethys Sea, or you can say the Tethys Sea will be Tethys Sea converted into the northern plain. So today's northern plain was the part of the Tethys Sea. So if the area of this region is started to shrink, or they started to contract after a certain time period, the rivers originated from this mountainous region, and that rivers started to drain out in this area, and that is why the sediments that were taken from this mountainous region will be deposited here, and after a certain time period, this entire water body will be filled up with the sediment, and it will be converted into the plain region. Okay, like the northern plain that is found on the Tethys Sea. So today's northern place is found on the Tethys Sea. Okay, one thing is here, one landscape is found, folded mountain. Okay, second thing, what will happen here, if two plates collide to each other, then this is not a easy thing. The two plates mean the plate is a vast area, the plate which has the entire continent, or which has the whole continent. Okay, a plate on which a whole continent is located, if the movement is taking place on this plate, that means this is not a easy, or that this is not a small phenomena, this is a large phenomena. If the two plates will collide, that means a lot of energy will be released, and if the lot of energy will release, and that particular energy will cause for the earthquake in this region. So where the two plates will collide, or the two plates or move away from each other, then it release a lot of energy, or it is cause for a lot of destruction or the disturbance in that particular region, and that disturbance will create the earthquake in this region. So you understand, where the two plates in this situation, where the one plate is moving beneath the another plate, so it create the friction, and that friction will create the energy, and this energy will responsible for the earthquake generation. So this region experience the high intensity of the earthquake. That means where the two plates are converging, this region will experience the earthquake. Why this region will experience the earthquake? Due to the friction of the plate. Due to this friction, there is a energy generation, and this energy is responsible for the earthquake generation. Okay, and another, when this plate that has the higher density, when it move into the inner part of the earth, and we know that when we move from inner part, or the wind move from the surface to interior part, temperature increasing, and at the certain point of the certain time or the certain point of the depth, the temperature is very high. If the temperature will very high, then this part of the plate is started to melt, and this part will convert into the hot molten material. This plate will be converted into the hot molten material, and this hot molten material is called the magma. This hot molten material is called the magma, and if this plate will convert into the magma, the magma is started to erupt, and it will take for it will responsible for the volcanic eruption. So this region also experience the volcanic eruption. In simple way, understand here. In simple way, I will try to understand you. ठीक है? I will try that to you understand in the easy way. Okay, first in the simple way, when the two plates started to converge, look here. If there are two plates, if two plates are moving toward each other, what is the reason behind it? I has discussed here. If the two plates are moving each other, it means there is a certain gap is found earlier. If there is a certain gap, that means this gap is filled with the water. If there is a scope to movement toward each other, that means there is some gap. If this water body is filled with the sediments, if this water body is filled with the sediments, and the sediments and this plates is moving toward each other, after when the movement is taking place, the distance or the area of this water body started to contract, or you can say the area of the water body started to decrease. If the area of that particular water body is started to decrease, that's what will happen with the sediments started to get closer. If the sediment is started to get closer, and after a certain time, when the distance when the area is very low, then the compressional force will work on that particular sediments. If the compressional force will work on the sediments will start to fold, and the sediments will move on to another part of the plate, or you can say the sediments will start to move upward direction of this plate in the folded form, and that sediment starts to fold and make a folded structure, and that folded structure is called the folded mountain. So this type of the movement is firstly started to create a folding, and that will convert into the folded mountain. When this plate collides, when the gap is completely filled or the area of the water body is completely erased, then when this plate will collide, after the collision, what will be happen? After the collision, the heavier plate started to move beneath this plate. If the heavier plate started to move this plate, why the heavier plate? Because due to the high density, heavier plate will started to move. If the heavier plate started to move, there is a friction will be taking place. If the friction will take place, that means this is responsible for the earthquake generation. And if this plate move beneath under the earth crust, or under the mental, or the if this plate movement is going on, and the plate will reach in the mental condition, mental level, or you can say the mental part of the earth. At the mental part of the earth, the temperature is very high, or if the temperature is very high, then this rock of this plate is started to melt, and this plate rock will be converted into the magma, and that magma will maybe come into the outer part, and that magma is started to responsible, or the magma is responsible to start the volcanic eruption. So this region will experience the at least three phenomena. The first is the folded mountain, second one is the earthquake, and the third one is the volcanic eruption. Third one is the volcanic eruption. If you understand, please confirm me. If you have any doubt, so please put your doubt. Okay. So this is the convergence plate movement. There are three cases found in this convergence plate movement on the basis of the plate differences. Okay, so plate differences, if the convergence is taking place, and if we understand that there is a two type of the plate, so there is a three possibilities to the convergence. The first, when the plates, both plates are oceanic plate. So first convergence you can understand when there is a condition where the two oceanic plate can be converged. The second one is the one plate is continent and the second plate is the oceanic. So here is a possibility to convergence of the one continental and the one oceanic plate. And the another possibility is the one continental plate and another is also continental plate. So there is a three possibility in the convergence of the plate. On the nature of the plate, there are two type of the nature is found in the plate. So we can categorize this on the three part. Okay, so there are three possibilities in the convergence. Okay, so when the two continental plates will converge, what will happen? Which type of the landform will develop? What will be happen when the when the one continental and the one oceanic plates will converge? And what will be happen when the one oceanic and the one oceanic plate will be converged? Okay, so we will discuss about these cases into the next session. We will discuss about these cases into the next session. That means in the next session we will understand what will happen when the one continental and the one oceanic plates will converge and what is the example that is found on the global level. What will happen when the two continental plates will converge, and this is related to the India, and that is why we will understand the Himalayan origin. Okay, we will understand here due to the in this case the Himalayan origin, and in this case we will understand the circum-Pacific region, or in the Pacific belt we will understand the Pacific belt. And oceanic convergence, the example of this oceanic convergence is the islands, or you can say the volcanic islands of Western Pacific region. So in this case we will understand how the Japanese island or the archipelago of the Indonesia has developed. In this case we will understand how the Andes and Rockies and how this region has a lot of volcanic eruption and the earthquake prone area. Why? How? And in this case we will understand how the Himalaya is developed and why the Himalaya does not have the volcanic activity at this present time. Earlier there is a evidences has been seen in the Himalaya region of the volcanic eruption, but today there is no volcanic eruption. Why? What is the reason behind this? And this can be asked in your mains examination. The two cases has been asked. In these three cases, two cases has been asked by the UPSC. One remaining section can be asked in your mains examination in the upcoming mains examination that will be held in the September. So these cases is very important. We will discuss about these cases into the next session. Okay, so today's session I will end it. Okay, today's session, I hope you understand, you enjoyed this session. If you have any query, then you can put up your query in your comment box. And if you have any doubt, you can also ask your doubt in your comment box. And subscribe this channel, share this video. और ये जो चैनल है ना, ये आपके लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आपको सुबह से लेकर शाम तक यहाँ पे क्लासेस दी जाती हैं, तो इसलिए इस चैनल को आपको सब्सक्राइब करना है अगर आप प्रिपरेशन करते हो. ठीक है. विल टेल इन हिंदी. इफ यू वांट टू हिंदी, यू कैन प्लीज ज्वाइन द एग्जामपुर another channel, that is the IAS PCS by Exampur in Hindi. That channel is completely for the Hindi, so please join that channel. Okay, so we will meet in the next session. Thank you so much.